Good evening, Bucknutters. Welcome to What We Learned Live following Ohio State's, as everyone predicted, blowout win over Oregon. 41-21. Okay, I predicted Ohio State to win by 4 points, but I prefer this. And dare I say 41-21 doesn't even do it justice. Buckeyes jumping out to a 34-0 lead. I am Dave Biddle. Welcome to the show. I'm joined by Heath Schneider. You know him as Heater. I'm joined by Matt Baxendell. You know him as Bax. We're going to hear from Jonah Booker later. We're going to hear from Patrick Murphy live from the Rose Bowl. And, belt to ass. That's exactly right. Now, I don't know. I don't know what the Lunatic Fringe is going to say after this game. Bax, do you want to speak for the Lunatic Fringe, my friend?
Yeah, I'm here live with the Lunatic Fringe. And, hey, you know what? The Lunatics are pretty happy right now, Herbie, so.
Are they a little mad that they let? Is the Lunatic Fringe focusing on the fact that they kind of I
think the Lunatics are always upset. You know, we can never be happy enough. We're just miserable people, right? But on the flip side, there's not a lot to be miserable about after this beautiful game tonight from Ohio State. You could not ask for a better start for Ohio State in this game, and now they're on to the national semifinal.
Peter, your initial thoughts from this game. I know you posted your immediately after the game analysis to Bucknuts. Your thoughts on this incredible win for the Buckeyes?
I was absolutely blown away, to be honest with you. I didn't expect a game like this. I expected a final score in the 40s, but I thought it was going to be like 42-40, 41-39. I did not expect a 20-point win, but then again, I didn't expect a 20-point win back in 2014 in the championship game against Oregon either. I did expect big plays, and boy, oh boy, were we given big play after big play after big play. Ohio State had 13 big plays, passes of 15 or more, runs or 10 or more for 381 yards. 381 of their 500 yards came on big plays, big explosive plays. What a fantastic showing. I said it in my write-up. I don't know, outside of a 59-0 blowout of Wisconsin in 2014 in the Big Ten championship game, I don't know that I have seen a better prepared Ohio State team in a must-win game than what I saw tonight. They came out both guns a-blazing, and offense, defense, they shut them down and they lit them up. It was absolutely fantastic. Those are my initial impressions.
You know, I was wondering, how are they going to come back? They had their best performance of the season against Tennessee, and then they just topped it.
Yeah, they let it ride, doubled down. It was fantastic. And they did this against a team they lost to earlier in the season, against a team that was undefeated, against the number one seed in the playoffs, the team that wanted to be known as that team out west. All of that. Part of the redemption tour, so to speak. There was more redemption tonight than a marathon of Shawshanks.
Let's bring in Jonah Booker. Yeah. Full house backfield here. I love it. J-Book, welcome to the show.
Hey, what up, fellas? I'm fired up right now. Let's go.
How could you not be? This is amazing. Ohio State, I don't know what took so long, but better late than never. They look like the juggernaut that we expected, and maybe even then some against Tennessee and now Oregon on both sides of the ball. Wow. Getting after
Hey. Sorry if you guys hear the background noise. I'm in Las Vegas right now at Beer Park, right across the street from the Bellagio. It's absolutely insane. Tons of Ohio State fans here, and I just have to say, what an absolute.
These guys.
What an absolute call, from Chip Kelly. I felt like he had those guys in the absolute blender.
No doubt about it, man. Let's go back to Bax. I never saw this coming. I did predict Ohio State to win, but geez. And like I said, Bax, 41-21 might not even do it justice. Ohio State came out there 34-0 before you even knew it.
You know what's crazy, Dave, is that the number one thing, he talked about all those big plays and all those stats they had. Trey had some touchdown. In the third quarter was the first time they even were in the red zone because they scored from so far out every time. That's insane. Their fifth touchdown was their first time in the red zone. So,
Wow.
you mentioned that Wisconsin game. Guys, I was at that game, and I was at the end of the first quarter with the Lunatic fringe that I had over here. All of that was exactly what we were all thinking about was Wisconsin. 34-0 at halftime. And I saw a thing on Twitter, and I don't know if it's true, but I think it is. And that is the worst deficit a number one team in the country has ever been down while being shut out. In the history of college football, 34-0. A number one team has never been down that far. So, you know what? We can talk about that other thing that happened that led to these last two games. This is the team that everybody has been talking about and expecting to see from Ohio State. This is a dominant effort, and now they're the team to beat.
Let's kick it back to J-Book, then we'll go to Heater next. J-Book, you more impressed with the offense or the defense, or let's not pick between our kids type thing?
I can't pick. I mean, the way that the offense started here, and they started in that same kind of mindset that they had against Tennessee. Let's attack. Let's be aggressive. We're not going to play into your hands. Foot on the abs on the throat. Dave, what did we say on our show on Friday? Belt to ass. It was that from the absolute jump, from the word go. I cannot be more impressed with Jim Knowles in the defense. And the one thing that we talked about going into this game, I was so fascinated about how much did they learn from that first go against Oregon. It's not very many times in sports that you get an opportunity to right your wrongs, to where you can face an opponent that you lost to. Being able to go back and learn from your mistakes. You and I talked about it, Dave. The first game, Oregon's tempo caused so much trouble for this Ohio State defense, to where there were so many times that we weren't even set before the ball was snapped and Oregon was on the move, on the go. This time, it was a totally different mindset. It was a totally different aggression. I felt like Ohio State defense took it to Oregon. Like, they set the tone. It wasn't, hey, we're going to play on our heels to see how Oregon comes at us. No, it was not that at all. This Ohio State defense came into this game and said, we are going to dictate how you play. And as Bax said, the Lunatics fringe, this is the Ohio State team that we have been saying is there. We haven't seen it. We didn't see it all year. And now it's finally unleashed for the anime people. This is Goku going Super Saiyan at the most opportune time, to where you're saying, this is the Ohio State team that I knew was there. We took it to the opposing team, and they had no answer for the talent and the physicality. As much as we have talked about Justin Fry and how Justin Fry probably needed to be replaced, that offensive line beat the absolute dog you-know-what out of Oregon. 181 yards rushing, over 5 yards a carry, and Will Howard, he did get a little bit of pressure here and there, but the fact that he was able to step back there in the pocket and throw for 300 yards, this offense had over 500 yards of total offense. Chef's kiss, baby. Chef's kiss.
I love it. Peter, I noticed the final score against Oregon looks almost like the final score 10 years ago in the national championship game. Not quite. I mean, it's not 42-20, 41-21, almost like Ohio State, Oregon 10 years ago in the national championship game.
A 3-touchdown win and the same number of points scored. He mentioned, J-Book mentioned offensive line development. I had it written right here, which you can't see because it's blurry, but offensive line development was something I was going to hit on. The fact that this, given all the injuries they've gone through, given the depth we had concern about, the milk carton search for Hinsman all season, and then to have this develop over the last couple of weeks the way it has against what are supposed to be the best teams in the nation, right? Once you're into the playoffs, to put up 500 and whatever we put up against Tennessee and that butt whooping, It's absolutely incredible to see. And we only had, two penalties tonight. We've cut down on holds. We've cut down on false starts. You don't see that. What you do see is you see a team that is winning at the point of attack, that's controlling the line of scrimmage, that is clearly dominating in the trenches where all the games are won and lost. Every single game I've ever been involved with has been, do you win at the point of attack? Do you control the line of scrimmage? If you do, you're likely to win, barring turnovers, etc. And that is exactly where Ohio State is at right now. They're doing it on the flip side, on the defense. This defensive line is suddenly rotating players. Malik doesn't get the publicity that he should. He's out there just manhandling people out there. And Jack Sawyer was all over, paws abounding everywhere tonight, knocking down passes, getting sacks, etc. This is the team, as I wrote in my immediately after the game analysis, this is the team that can win a national championship. This is the one that we talked about. This is the one we thought was going to be around, and this is the team that can do it. They've done it twice in the playoffs. They've got 2 more to go to get that, to hoist up that crown. If they continued like this and this coaching staff preps them the way they have the last 2 games, this team wins the crown. Absolutely, no doubt wins the crown.
Guys, I want to get all your thoughts on
let me.
It's astonishing to me what's going on with J.J. Smith. It's like astonishing. Like 7 catches, 187 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also had a carry for 6 yards for good measure. And it feels like if he wanted to, he could have had like 300 yards and 4 touchdowns if they needed it. I can't believe what we're seeing. Like, we'll start with backs. We'll go around the horn. Jeremiah Smith, man. We've seen so many great wide receivers come through Ohio State. He's going to go down as the best.
Yeah.
In the first quarter, me and the Lunatics were watching that first drive, and I literally looked around and said, this is a Jackson Smith and Jigba Rose Bowl game about to happen. If this game had been anywhere close, he would have had 300-something receiving yards. We compare this to the other Oregon game that happened in the national championship. You compare it to the Tennessee game. It's a game that wasn't as close as the score. And if OSU had needed him, the sky was a limit on how many yards that guy needed. At the end of the game, he wasn't even on the field. They were like, we're just going to run the ball. We just need to get the clock to run out. Let's get this over. We got Texas to beat now. And right now, Jeremiah Smith, my praise of him is so high is that I genuinely believe if he was eligible for the NFL draft, he'd be the number 1 pick this year. There's no quarterback that's the clear number 1. He would be the guy. He's the guy. I can't put it any more realistic than that. Like, people talk about hyperbole and hype and everything, and the reality is this kid has been beyond the hype. He's the best receiver, and we're Ohio State. Our last 5 years of receivers is stupid good, and he's the best one, and I don't think it's close.
J-Book, I'm loving 2025 so far, and J.J. Smith's a big reason.
Dave, the one thing I love about Jeremiah Smith, he talked that smack this year, like this week, and he said, what did he say? They try to guard us one-on-one, it's over for you. Hey, we're going to make you pay if you try to guard us one-on-one, man-to-man. If you don't have an umbrella over the top, hey, we're going deep. And what happened? Oregon, for some reason, I don't know if they didn't watch the Tennessee tape, but they let Jeremiah Smith get locked up with Muhammad over there one-on-one. He put belt to butt, Dave. They could not guard this dude.
Let's see if kids are around.
Belt to ass, Dave. Belt to ass, Dave. Hey, they could not guard this man. And the beautiful thing about it was, now you have a situation where you're going against a Texas team, okay? Texas has a DB who's All-American, right? Jeremiah Smith has abused everybody. So
they also have the best freshman in the country. Ohio State has the second best freshman in the country.
Second best. But let's talk about this defense. So now the beautiful thing about it is going into this Texas game, Texas, do you try to guard Jeremiah Smith one-on-one? I will position you don't do that. So now what are you going to do? You're going to have a safety over the top, and boom, Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, their offensive line at the right time, at the right time of the season, they're clicking in the running game. Being able to go for 180 yards plus, pick your poison. This Ohio State team is so tough to beat that where if you try to cheat a safety over the top of Jeremiah Smith to slow him down, you're going to have to account for the numbers in the box against that running game right now. And that's why I say it's so critical that the offensive line is starting to click at the right time under this 3-guard rotation that they got. And shout out to Tegra, shout out to Luke Montgomery and Austin Saraville. Those boys played their heart out. They're junkyard dogs. Like I said, hey, you get them Ohio boys in the trenches, Dave and Heater. You get them Ohio nasty boys in the trenches that are 3-star, 4-star guys that need a little bit more time to develop. They can play some good football for you now. And right now, you're starting to see some of those Ohio boys in the trenches, in the inside, playing some of their best football. So when you go against Texas, because you have to account for Jeremiah Smith, their running game is going to be there. Cam Scatterboo, he ran for over 100 plus against Texas, and they had them boys on the ropes. Right now, Ohio State, I like the Buckeyes winning by 2 scores going into this Texas game right now. I'm calling it, and we're going to do our staff prediction coming up here pretty soon. You guys are going to send out the staff prediction. I like the Buckeyes 2 scores against Texas. I'm not impressed with that Texas team. Arizona State gave them everything that they had to handle right now. Arizona State probably had about 3 to 4 trips inside the red zone and didn't score. If this Buckeye team plays like this, they will be bringing the national championship back to Columbus. I've seen this before, Dave and Heater. It reminds me of the 2014 team. They're on that run. They're on that heater to when you look at them and you say, I know what I'm seeing. I know what my eyes are telling me. And this Ohio State program, when they jump on top of you and they're this aggressive with this amount of talent, and you combine it with the combination of having this much confidence, they're going to smash people. I'm telling you, they're going to smash people.
Scatterboo ran for over 100 yards, like you said. He also had like 79 receiving yards, had a long touchdown or not touchdown pass, had a long pass. So yeah, I mean Texas looks susceptible for sure, and the SEC just looks weak overall. Heater, your thoughts on Buckeyes being favored by 5.5 is the early line against Texas? How about that? The game is in Dallas, though, Arlington. And then what are your thoughts on Jeremiah Smith being really good at football?
Yeah, let me start with Jeremiah Smith. Turns out you are correct. He is really good at football. He's played in 2 playoff games. He's had 2 100-plus games, 6 for 103 and 2 touchdowns last week, 7 for 187 and 2 touchdowns this week. The guy can play, and to be honest with you, as I again wrote it in the after the game analysis, enjoy your time seeing him in scarlet and gray. He's as close to generational talent as you're going to see at the wide receiver position. He is that good. I don't think in any way that is hyperbole. I believe he is generational talent. And I think he has a generational mindset. Like, he doesn't care that I have God-given talent. I have to develop that talent. And so often you see people that are given natural ability that they don't hone their craft, they don't sharpen their skills, and they don't make themselves the very best they can be. And in this case, I don't see it. This guy absolutely wants to get there one way or another. 5.5 points. That is not big enough. That if this is the team that we see coming out next week, 5.5 points is not big enough. It's at least a 2-score game. If I take those 2 teams that I watched today, right? I watched the first game, I watched the second game, and I say, okay, the 2 winners have to face each other. It is very clear to me that Texas has a ton of talent that is not maximizing their talent, and Ohio State right now has a ton of talent, and they are maximizing that talent. They are bringing force to bear on the enemy, and they are.
Let's go, Heater!
They are
Let's go
absolutely
here.
destroying them, start to finish, as long as they stay aggressive. The one thing that I would have a caveat on that is the moment we started pulling back and we started rushing three, and I'll give a good example. In the first half, it was when Oregon got their first down. It was 3rd and 8, and we said, okay, let's just kick back and we'll rush three and we'll contain them and they won't get it. Third and 8, they got their first down. And then they didn't go on to score, obviously, but why not pin your ears back? Why not go after that? Why not make that happen? We saw it similarly on a 3rd and 22. They got 21 on it. Now he was flushed out of the pocket. But my point in the whole thing is, when this is an aggressive defense, when this is an aggressive offense, they march down the field on offense and they stymie them on defense. And if they do that, Texas will not stand a chance in the Cotton Bowl. Just won't happen. Very talented team. Don't want to take anything away from Texas. Tremendously talented. But it's not going to happen if this is the team that they roll out.
Heater, you got me fired up, brother. I'm about to go throw 500 on the Buckeyes right now. I'm going across the street to Cosmopolitan Sportsbook, and I'm putting some money on the Buckeyes to beat Texas straight up. Hey, you got me fired up right now, Heater. Let's go.
Hey, you got me up. You got me fired up when you said Cosmopolitan. That's my favorite place.
Oh, go ahead.
Hey, I'm right across the street, right in between the Cosmopolitan and the Bellagio, man. I'm right across the street. I'm going right over there. As soon as we get off this call, I'm throwing some money on the Buckeyes for that game against Texas right now. Because I'm telling you, I've seen this before. You guys have watched enough Ohio State football. When a team plays with confidence like this, with this much talent, they are extremely hard to beat. They're a tough out. And Jim Knowles has this Ohio State defense playing some of their best football of the season. Lathan Ransom, I mean, let's talk about how many guys on this defense has increased their draft stock this playoff. Lathan Ransom looks phenomenal. Cody Simon looks incredible.
Looks amazing.
JT and Jack Sawyer are looking like the 5 stars that we all thought that they should have been looking. Those two, tightly, like JT and Jack are playing their best football together at the right opportune time that we've seen all year. Usually what we will see is one play good, one's off. One play good, one off. They're both playing outstanding. Tyleek, crazy. Then you got Ty Hamilton was out there making some plays today. And what I tell you, Dave, what I tell you on Friday, revenge game for Denzel Burke. Don't forget Denzel. Denzel had probably his worst game against Oregon that first game. Denzel played incredible this game. And the other thing, Davidson Igbinosun, when's the last time he's been called for a pass interference?
Right.
When's the last time Davidson Igbinosun has been out of position and he's holding, he's grabbing? He has cleaned that up and he's playing that way. And Caleb down. And then here's the crazy thing. As well as those other guys are playing, I also have a Biletnikoff finalist in Caleb Downs, who's playing some of the best football as well on the back end.
Four finalists.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Thorpe finalist. JJ was one of the Biletnikoff semifinalists. My bad on that fraudulent slip. But yeah, so you look at that. Yeah, you look at that defense and you're just like, them boys they're playing some ball. And before you go on, Dave, they are laying the wood. Them boys are popping some pads, bro. They are popping some pads, Dave.
I mean, they came with the hit stick for sure. And if you need to jump off, before you jump off though, if you need to, I'm gonna keep you as long as you can. But if you need to go make some money, I get it. I'm going to get Heater's thoughts on this too. But, J-Book, where do you come down on Ohio State had that edge against Tennessee? Even though they were favored by 7, they almost came in with an underdog mentality. They even talked about that today. Even though they were favored by 2.5, they had lost to Oregon. A lot of people were picking them. Right? There were people that picked Oregon as a lock. That was their lock of the week, was Oregon plus 2.5. So how do they keep that edge? We're all sitting here saying, like, oh, look how great they are now. This is exactly what we expected. and rightfully so. How do they keep that edge against Texas?
I will say that two things that I've noticed about this team. One, shout out to Mickey Marotti and the strength and conditioning staff, because whatever buttons that they're pushing right now, this Ohio State team has an incredible bounce. They're playing fast. They look like they have fresh legs. When they went up against Tennessee, they looked like they were exponentially faster than the SEC team that everybody had been raving about. Right now, Ohio State team, they're playing ferocious. I don't know what buttons the boys are pushing in that Woody Hayes facility, Dave, but hey, keep it up, because right now, them boys are head hunting. That offensive line is junkyard doggy. They're throwing boys out the club at 2 o'clock in the morning. And when you have a combination of Will Howard being incredibly accurate, throwing for 300 plus in back-to-back playoff games. And here's the thing: if you're a opposing defensive coordinator, pick your poison. Do you decide I want to slow down this passing attack that's going for 300 plus in back-to-back games, or do I start crowding a box to try to slow down a rushing attack that's right now averaging about 165, 170 in the playoffs? I don't know. That's what keeps you up at night. That's why I say Texas is about to get smashed, man. Like this, if this Ohio State team that we witnessed over the last two playoff games go against this Texas team, they're gonna belt whoop them boys, and they will probably see a Penn State or Notre Dame. I don't think Georgia's that good. I kind of hope they do beat. I do kind of hope that they see Georgia in the national championship, just to kind of get that revenge factor from a couple years ago for Strauss last year, when we were a field goal away from potentially winning the national championship. But I don't think Georgia's that good, especially with a backup quarterback. When you look at Georgia's perimeter play, not very good. And they have a backup coming in for Beck. I think Notre Dame might give them all that they can handle in this playoff game tomorrow. But right now, if you're watching this game as an unbiased set of eyes, Ohio State clearly has to be the favorite, because you could, like I said earlier, anytime you combine talent plus confidence plus a discipline plus an aggressive mindset, it's extremely tough to beat. And I'll end that before I hop off over here, Dave. I need to go see Heath got me fired up. I need to go over here across the sports book and throw some money on this Buckeyes game versus Texas. I'm gonna make some money. I made some money tonight. I'll bet the over. I think the over was like 54 and a half, 55, depending on which book he spent it. I was like, hey, I'm throwing some cash on that, because I thought that was going to be a high scoring affair. I didn't think Ohio State was going to butt whoop them like this. In our Bucknut staff prediction, I had the Buckeyes winning by 10. But the way that they came out like this, there's no doubt in my mind this is a national championship team ready to go.
You're up 34-0 in the second quarter. It's crazy. J-Book, I appreciate it, man. You hopping on from Vegas, man. Go make some money and have fun, my friend.
Go get it,
man. Talk to you later, my friend. Hey, all right, Biddle. All right, Heater, man. Hey, you guys stay safe out here. Hey, I was just down the street, man, where they try to blow up the Trump Hotel, bro, with the Tesla truck. You ain't see that?
Wait, what?
No.
A terrorist attack was here in Vegas, man, right down the street.
Just like
today, bro.
Breaking news.
I'm dead serious. Somebody parked a Tesla truck right down the street from the Trump Hotel. I'm over here by the Bellagio and the Cosmopolitan, right down the street. You start hearing explosion and stuff is going off like fireworks. Police everywhere, though, everywhere. And come to find out, I start checking my news feed. Somebody tried to commit a terrorist attack in front of the Trump Hotel. I'm like, oh man, I'm just trying to watch the football game, and they out here acting up.
Yeah, someone died.
Prayers to everybody in New Orleans, everything. Jeez, wow! I've been in like my college football bubble here for the last few hours. I didn't even know that. All right, man. Go make some money. Stay safe. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Hey, love you fellas, man. I'll talk to y'all next week, man.
All right, Jay.
Happy New Year, man. Man, I didn't even know that.
No, I didn't either.
Heater, they got to keep their edge. They can't go into this like, okay, we've arrived now. We're Ohio State, and just go throw their helmet. Like, they've got to somehow find a way to keep this edge against Texas, because especially going in, I mean, not that Arlington is like Texas's backyard. I mean, they played Oklahoma at the Cotton Bowl, but still, you're in the state of Texas. That's not ideal.
Not ideal.
Good Texas team coming off of probably they're a little embarrassed that they got up big and let Arizona get back in the game. Almost lost, yeah.
Should have lost.
Could have lost, yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree. Yeah,
that was a team that, when you look at the brackets, you're like, hey, where are the easy wins? Oh, there's one, and they completely didn't make that an easy win. So keeping the edge, couple of things. I think Ryan Day keeps that edge because he's probably still thinking he's coaching for his job. Whether we want to think it or not, there are those out there that would say, hey, if you don't beat Michigan, it's a failure of a season, even if you win a national championship. You can decide that either way, however you want. But Ryan Day is 3-1 against top 5 this year, 4-1 against top 10 now. This coaching staff is a good coaching staff. It is a top 5 coaching staff because not only do you have to be able to cook the dinner, you also have to be able to shop for the groceries, and he appears to shop for groceries really, really well, right? So I think you do a couple of things, keep him on edge, or keep the edge. One, Ryan Day is going to keep it because he wants to keep his job. I think there's a lot of talk out there about you could very easily say, look, you were looking up at Texas for most of the year, or for much of the year, right? That Texas was ahead of Ohio State. And you could very easily say, given the opportunity to decide who was better, everybody said the other team was better, right? You could do that. I think that the best way to do it is you came into this season with 3 goals. You did not make 2 of those goals. You only have 1 goal left, and that goal trumps all the other ones. And that one will make everything else that you didn't accomplish feel so much better. So you better get out there and accomplish that one. And there's only one chance to do it. There's no room for error. There's no opportunity to lose and go to a consolation bracket. It is win or go home. And you only have 2 more wins to get there, but you got to win those. You had 3 goals. You didn't get 2 of them. You got 1 left. You got to hit that. That's how you keep them motivated.
And they're halfway there as far as the CFP is concerned. Yeah. They could not have played better, but you're right. I mean, they've got to finish the deal because they are the betting favorite to do it. It's not like, well, they didn't accomplish their first 2 goals, but they're an underdog now. Maybe they can accomplish their main goal. No, they're the betting favorite. And you would take that a million times out of a million. National championship banners hang forever. Yep. Big Ten championship, it might hang forever, within the facility, not at the Horseshoe. Yeah. Wins over Michigan are great. Those banners don't hang forever, but a national championship, and they're 2 wins away. I'm looking at the total yards. I love looking at total yards. I love stats. So Ohio State took their foot off the gas, at least, end of the second half or end of the second quarter. Still, Heater, they finished the game with 500 yards of total offense. Exactly. What a clean number. 500 yards of total offense for the Buckeyes. Oregon with 276. Again, that's with Ohio State just basically trying to run out the clock in the second half. Yeah. I can't wait to rewatch this game. I mean, again, I'm just almost flummoxed about how dominant Ohio State was.
So even when they took their foot off the gas, so I'm looking at the breakdown. I love stats too. I'm a big stats junkie. First half, 390 yards, 34 points, compared to Oregon at 139 and 8 points, right? So in the second half, they outscored us 13-7 on when we were clearly largely in cruise control. We gave up we only got 110 yards in the second half out of our 500, but we only gave up 137. We actually gave up less yards in the second half than in the first half. It was 139 to 137. So it suggests to me that while they did score twice and didn't get it close, but they did score twice. This defense was still coming at them and coming at them hard. Time of possession was virtually the same, and it was off by like 5 or 10 seconds in either half. But like, we didn't even try to possess the ball. When I was watching it late in the third quarter, and I was sitting there saying, okay, we should run this clock down to 3 seconds. Don't snap the ball unless it's inside 5 seconds. We were still snapping the ball at 13 seconds, at 12 seconds. I had written them down. I don't know where it's at. We snapped on one drive. We snapped it with 15 seconds left, with 12 seconds left, and with 13 seconds left. And on the punt, there were 11 seconds left. It's like, why are we doing this? We could have taken an entire minute off the clock if we had just let it run down. But we're not even trying to do that. We're just playing our game and completely outclassed what was supposed to be the number one team in the nation. And quite honestly, Dan Lanning looked like he was lost. He was looking at it like, hey, I thought I was the aggressive one. What's going on here? And it was clear when they would show shots at him on the sideline, he had no answer. It wasn't deer in the headlights, but it was deer on the side of the road.
Looked like a boxer that came in pretty confident, got smacked in the nose, and was kind of like a standing 8 count a little bit over there, a little woozy. Yeah, 100%. And couldn't have happened to a better guy. I've never been a Dan Lanning fan. I was certainly not a Dan Lanning fan after the Ohio State game against them earlier this year. And very good to see him get his star tarnished a little. Don't get me wrong. He's an excellent coach. And he's still on a rising star. I don't think this tarnishes it to the point where people are going to be down on him because he's truly an excellent coach. But anytime Dan Lanning is losing, the world is healing. Yeah, and I don't even fault him. The first, I guess the way I look at the first game, that loophole that he found, if you find a loophole in the rules, good for you. You're not cheating. They gotta change the rules, right? But that does make me want to beat you even more, though. So it does make it sweeter. I'm not going to blame you, but I'm going to come at you a little harder, though.
It does make your face look more punchable.
Right. It makes your neck beard look a little bit more punchable. Yes.
Oh yeah. We need to talk about neck beards and why those should never be in play for any human ever. But hey, okay. We can keep talking football though. Do you want to stay on? Do you need to get going? Yeah, no, I'm good. I don't have anything going on. I'm going to get ready for tomorrow's day at work a little later. I was just looking at some of those advanced stats and just I need to. In conversations with you earlier this year, I have gone through the streakiness that Will Howard would show and inaccuracy on long passing, on long throws. I will eat every bit of those words right now. He has been fantastic on long throws. The stuff he threw tonight was absolutely on point. He had JJ hold up a little on that last touchdown when he ran from the slot, and the touchdown to the right corner of the end zone. He held him up a little, but otherwise that throw to Emeka was spot on. Couldn't have been placed any better. And by the way, kudos to Emeka for holding on to that when it got hit by the defender. His throw to G. Scott, his throw to Henderson down the sidelines on the third down. That was probably a key point in the game. Third down the sidelines for a big gainer to JJ. All of those were longer throws. All of them were perfectly placed. And that key point I was talking about was Ohio State was up 14-0. It was third down and I think 6. It looked to me like they were set up for a quarterback draw. We were deep in our own territory. I don't remember where, and that's where he hit JJ on third down the left side for the big gainer that made it a first down. Had they not gotten that first down, it's only 14-0 at that point. Probably would have flipped the field for Oregon because we were inside the 20, as I recall. and maybe they get it at midfield. You don't get that first down, a short field when it's just 14-0 with a dynamic offense like Oregon, that might completely change the complexion of the game. Now, we see in hindsight that they were in no way ready for what Ohio State was bringing to them tonight and the force they brought to bear against them. But in the moment of that game, you thought, oh boy, if they don't get it, then and they can score on a short field like that, that's only a 7-point game. That's a completely different complexion of a game than what we wound up with.
Boy, Jim Knowles has proven to be the real deal, and then some. My goodness, it's to the point now. I just hope, if we win the national championship this year, whatever. I just hope we can keep Jim Knowles going forward. Is what I was going to say, but goodness gracious, he's just. I think the first couple of years, people are like, "Is Knowles really that good?" Yeah, he is. And is he dealing with a lot of talent? Yeah, yes, he is. Man, he's got these guys playing exactly how I want to see a silver bullet defense playing, Heater.
I want to give a proper thank you to Nick Saban and to Dan Lanning for motivating Jim Knowles and completely changing his approach to the offense, right?
Or motivating Ryan Day to let Jim Knowles do whatever he wants to do.
Absolutely. Hey, freelance out there, big guy, do whatever you got to do. Just give us something that's going to be the number one defense in the nation, which is clearly what they have. But to remove the constraints and take the blinders off of the defensive line, allow them to do stunts, allow them to do twists, and come at you 8 ways from Sunday has changed the way the defense and the backfield has been able to go about it. The idea of moving Caleb Downs from his normal kind of deeper safety location to almost a deep linebacker position and letting him kind of freelance out there as well has paid all kinds of dividends. You probably can't do that unless you have Caleb Downs. You can't take somebody with a lower football IQ, so to speak, and I think Caleb Downs has a really, really, really high football IQ. You can't take someone with a lower and have them do that. With him, he seems to put himself in the right position on just about every single play. You might be able to do it with somebody with a superior athletic ability. If Sonny Styles didn't move, he could probably overcome for some of the mistakes or wrong guesses that he might make. But Caleb Downs seems to read everything perfectly and position himself to be in the right space. And that kind of combination, and Nick Saban saying, hey, it's an antiquated offense. And, hey, Jim Knowles having the humility to say, well, that guy's won a bunch of championships. He's probably right. To have that humility from that position, it says a whole lot about the kind of person he is and how he's willing to adapt, and adapt he did, because this has been a defense that is throttling the respective offenses in the playoffs. It's 12 sacks in the college football playoffs in 2 games, 8 against a guy that had been sacked 13 times the entire season, and they got 8 tonight. That's incredible. And then against somebody like Nico last week against Tennessee, who's that quick and that kind of twitchy in the backfield, you got 4 on him. That's 12 sacks in 2 games against 2 of the better offenses in the NCAA, right? Certainly Oregon's a dynamic offense. Tennessee is a burgeoning offense, at least has been this year, with a younger quarterback. But to get 12 in 2 games against, top 12 competition is pretty impressive.
I love when Ohio State gets the ball first. I was thrilled to see Oregon win the toss, and I kind of held my breath. Hopefully they say defer. They did. I get it's a risk. If you go 3 and out, then that's bad business. But, man, you do what Ohio State has done the last 2 games, and you go down there and score a touchdown. You get all that momentum going. Yeah, the other team gets the ball to start the second half, but Knowles is great with halftime adjustments. Didn't have to be great tonight, although Oregon did come out and get a touchdown on their first drive. But that being said, overall, Knowles is really good with halftime adjustments. I love when Ohio State gets the ball first. I know Ryan Day has even said he wrestles with that sometimes if they win the toss, maybe sometimes, taking the ball. But I love getting the ball first, and Buckeyes did the last couple games, and they took the ball right down there and scored a touchdown. When they get that momentum going, man, it just feels like, even though it's 7-0, it's like, geez, we got this.
when you're hitting on all cylinders like this, you could take the ball or not to take the ball. It doesn't matter. I am a guy that prefers to get the ball and shove it down your throat as often as I can. So I will take the ball on the opening kickoff. I guess if there's one thing I could say bad about Ryan Day tonight, because he had an excellent night, an excellent week of preparation. He came in, these guys were prepped for everything. He lost the middle eight. The middle 8 minutes was terrible. But he dominated the first 26.
Won the other 52.
Yeah. Okay, so they scored a touchdown with no time on the clock. Okay, great. And they scored on their first one in the second half. Okay, yes, we lost the middle 8, but you were already up 34-0 before any of that happened. I think I can just, shuck that off my shoulder and continue to move forward. Ryan Day probably, I don't know what your thoughts are, probably still coaching for his job based off how they did in the Thanksgiving weekend. But again, 3-1 against the top 5.
I think there's no way that he's coaching for his job at this point, in my opinion.
You think? I'm down with that. I don't think he should be, to be honest with you. But when you're 3-1 against top 5 and 4-1 against top 10, I think you should. That was the big bugaboo. Was, hey, he hasn't beaten Michigan and he's not winning top 5 matchups. He's doing that this year. He did not beat Michigan, although I still give grace for 3 years of cheating. If cheating mattered last year and we said, hey, they cheated for 3 years, then even though you lost this year, that still matters. And as bad as this may sound, and somebody might want to shoot me, I would rather have lost the Michigan game and be in the college football semifinals than the other way around.
Right, then beat Michigan and then have lost like in the first or the quarterfinals. Because if they would have beat Michigan, let's say that, like Oregon, you win the Big Ten, you're 13-0, and then you lose your first game in the TFP. Give me that horrible, freaking awful, miserable loss to Michigan if it means this. Because now, not only have they made it to the semifinals, they're the betting favorite as we keep talking about it. I love it, man. We're going to hear from Patrick Murphy in a moment. Can't say enough nice things about this offensive line, man. I know you've talked about it. You wrote about it. I mean, they've now had 9 different offensive linemen who've started. Just before we bring Pat in here, talk about your thoughts on this offensive line.
So I am, again, just so impressed what they've done. We thought it was a weakness on this team at the beginning of the year. We weren't sure exactly how it was going to go. We wound up with the Remington Award winner, right? The best center in the nation. And we wound up with who then gets hurt, by the way. And we wind up with a couple of major injuries on the offensive line in a perceived area of weakness on this team, and has turned it into a strength somehow. I don't know how they've done it. They have put together an amalgam of, I don't know, spit, polish, tape, duct tape, glue, you name it, and somehow they've created. They're doing it with a lot of pulling, by the way. They're pulling on counter trays. They're pulling both the guard and the opposing tackle, and that's helping a lot. Plus, they're bringing folks in motion, the tight end, etc., to put another helmet into the box. However, they're making it work, and that's just another point about coaching. If they're stuck with something where they don't have the personnel anymore, then you have to scheme to make what personnel you have work. They have created that scheme to make it work. Instead of just pulling a guard, they're pulling a guard and a tackle, putting it into the box to block, and making that happen. They had not been doing that prior to the injuries, and you see it happening now.
Let's welcome in Patrick Murphy to the show. What a beautiful, beautiful setting there in Pasadena. Patrick Murphy live from the Rose Bowl. Great to see you. My goodness. When it's 34-0 in the second quarter, what's going through your mind?
What the hell? just how, look, I think we all picked Ohio State to win. It was even better than the Tennessee performance, I would say, given Oregon's weapons. Now, they did have some guys that got banged up. I know Evan Stewart didn't play, and their running back James only played that first series, I think. But credit to Ohio State. I mean, we said it last week. Like, if this team plays like this, no one's beating them, and it was the case again. if you have the offense coming out aggressive like it was, the defense flying all over the place. I was listening to Heater talk about the offensive line play and some of that. As I was watching Tennessee, I noticed that I think their second game of the year, they played NC State, and they were doing a lot of that. And I wonder, I don't know how far back this goes when they started doing it, Heater. Maybe you can tell me. But I do wonder if maybe they saw some of that working for other teams, and that's why they threw it in there. But yeah, I mean, what a performance. They've never lost to Oregon in the Rose Bowl, and that carries on today.
Yeah, and they
Also,
haven't lost in the Rose. This
Chip-
is 5 straight Rose Bowl wins for the Buckeyes.
Yeah,
Crazy.
yeah.
Pat, what
Chip
stood out
Kelly's
from-
first.
Go
Chip
ahead.
Kelly's first win against Oregon, by the way.
Chip Kelly's first win at the Rose Bowl too, because I know Jim Tressel got the best of him 15 years ago.
Well,
to
he
the
won
day.
some home games.
Well, I mean, in the actual
I got you.
game itself, not like his UCLA. But anyway, I always love asking like what stood out from the press conference. It had to be a celebratory press conference to say the least. But anything interesting stand out?
Well, Dave, as you know, it gets crazy after these bowl games. And so I have not even heard what the press conference stuff said because we go to the locker room. Steve went, I think he's going to jump on here after I'm done. He's going to try. He went to, they like put players in front of backdrops. I went to the locker room and was mostly focused on the difference in the defensive performance this time versus the last time Ohio State played Oregon. And a lot of guys pointed to, just executing and doing your jobs. We were talking to Denzel Burke actually right out here on the field before he went into the locker room, and he was saying it's nothing crazy. Like, we just had to keep those guys in front of us. We let them behind us a couple times in the first game, and we didn't do that this time. Really, other than the one touchdown that Davis Igbinosun gave up. Davis Igbinosun said the same type of thing. He also made it very clear that this team is going to go all the way. He said it, I think, 3 or 4 times. I talked to Chip Kelly, and I think that the Jeremiah Smith performance is something he could stand there and talk about all night. I asked, it's easy for us, for people on social media to say, give the ball to 4, right? Just give the ball to Jeremiah. It's more difficult in reality to do that, right? You have to scheme it up. You have to get him in positions because the other team is trying to stop him as well. And Chip gave a lot of credit to the coaches on the staff, not just himself, but Brian Hartline and some of the guys behind the scenes, Ryan Day. So he was very complimentary of Jeremiah, as you might expect after a game like this.
You had a lot of questions this past week that I thought were really good, asking how are they going to keep the same edge they had against Tennessee? Because even though they were favored against Tennessee, they had that underdog mentality. Even though Ohio State's playing at home, they heard all the negativity coming off the Michigan win. And you asked about that. How are you going to keep the edge? And they lived up to it. They gave you good answers, and I think they walked the walk. How do you now keep the edge? Like now everybody's going to be like, oh, yeah. I mean, I think they're favored by 5.5 over Texas. But the game's in Arlington. Ohio State's got to be feeling very confident. I just hope they're not overconfident.
Yeah, I think some of that right now is kind of the answers that we got this week. Like, you're 2 games away from the goal one of the goals you set going into the season. This is the college football playoff we've had since 2014, right? Is the Final Four. So as Emeka Egbuka said last week, like, if you can't get up for these games, I don't think you're a competitor. And I think that rings true here. You get an opportunity against a pretty good but beatable Texas team. We saw them lose this season twice. We saw them almost lose today in a wild game. And I think you recognize, okay, that's the team we can handle if we play the same way we did and come out with that same emotion. And then you're in the national championship game. So, I think, again, if you can't handle, or if you can't have that emotion, have that drive, have that fire in a game like that, I think you probably aren't doing the right thing. But look, it also helps. Buckeye Nation came out and represented. The guys come out of the tunnel that I'm standing right in front of, and this place was packed. This whole side was packed with Ohio State fans. I expect the same in Dallas. So I think that helps too. You get out here and you see some of that. But this team's they're really in a good place right now. It feels a lot to me, and I don't want to jinx anything, but it feels a lot to me like that role they got on in 2014 with that Wisconsin game and then the Bama game. Now, obviously, you have a couple more games here, but it feels very similar, and I think it'll be easy for them to stay up for it. Now that they've found it, right? The fact that you know what you need to do to beat these teams. And each week it gets more difficult, right? The Tennessee game, then Oregon, And obviously Texas, as you mentioned, kind of almost in their backyard.
We'll bring in Steve Helwagen in just a moment. Last thing for Patrick, let's get your parting thoughts, man. I mean, Texas up next. Texas struggled against Arizona State. Heath and I were talking about this earlier. We both think that, Arizona State really should have won the game. Texas was up 16 in the second half, but then Arizona State came back, looked like they were going to win the game. Really should have. But Buckeyes have to go to Arlington. Talk about that a little bit, and just any parting thoughts you have from tonight's game.
Yeah, I'd like to see a holding penalty called against the opponent.
The opposing, yes.
Yeah, I wasn't aware, from the press box, we don't have the TVs aren't right in front of us, so we didn't see as much of that. But then I started to see the screen grabs on Twitter and whatnot, and my God, they certainly deserved some holding penalties tonight. But yeah, I think Texas will be fun. Look, we get Quinn Ewers back, a guy that I don't know if we even ever talked to him when he was at Ohio State.
I don't think we did.
Yeah, because of when he arrived and whatnot. But I think that'll be, obviously a big narrative, him going against his former team and on that stage. This defense against that offense, I think it favors Ohio State. As you mentioned, they already are the favorites, but just the matchups, I think, without really having watched Texas deep. I watched them play a handful of times this year for sure. But you look at some of the stuff Georgia was able to do in the SEC championship game, some of the stuff that both Clemson and Arizona State were able to do in the second half. And, I think that games like that are reminders, it's not over. And that was something today. I thought the Buckeyes, Oregon started to come back a little bit, but they were able to stifle that. I think that's important in these games, especially if you get off big, because there's a tendency to relax a little bit. Another thing, Caleb Downs was pissed about the 2 touchdowns they gave up. He said,
I love it.
That can't happen. He said, I was fired up on the sideline. I don't know if you guys saw it. But yeah, I'm excited for Texas. I think that'll be a fun one. And, I'd take the Buckeyes in that. I feel pretty good about that before I really look into it. I feel pretty good about it, given what we've seen. I don't think it's a fluke anymore, right? The performance against Tennessee, it could have been, if tonight didn't go well, you could have looked back and said, hey, they did well, but they couldn't bring it multiple times. I think now you've seen it, and I think this is what this team is. We know how talented they are, and they finally found it. And that comment there, Cody Simon was great, but Jack Sawyer should have won Defensive Player of the Game. I couldn't believe they didn't give it to him.
This defense is just playing great. They're dominating on both sides of the ball, Ohio State. They are just peaking at the right time. Patrick, great stuff. We're going to trade you for Steve Helwagen real quick.
All right, trading up.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
See you guys.
You said it. I didn't. No, I'm not picking between my kids. Good stuff from Patrick Murphy, as always. Steve, welcome to the show. Steve from the bowels of the Rose Bowl. How you doing, man? Geez. We saw a unbelievably great performance against Tennessee, and we saw another one tonight. They picked a good time to play their best football of the season.
Yeah, I'm now 5-0 in Rose Bowl games. Now, I did see them lose to UCLA here, but I think that record's pretty good. They've won 5 straight Rose Bowl games that they've played in. And this was, I would say, the easiest of by far the easiest of the bunch when you were ahead 34-0 in the second quarter. I don't think anybody expected that. I picked Ohio State to win. I think a lot of people picked Ohio State to win. They were favored, but I don't think anybody saw that it was going to be a blowout like it was. And for Ohio State, 2 games in a row to just come out and give the opposing team, nothing. While the game was still in doubt, the opposing team got literally nothing. And, that's just incredible. And no sacks in the first meeting, 8 sacks this time around. Gave up a bunch of chunk plays the first time. They may have given up 2 today. I think 1 on each of the touchdown drives were chunk plays by Oregon. But, by that point it was 34-0. Who gives a crap? So, to me, it was just a command performance by this team. And I think that they look the part of a national championship team right now, but there are still 2 games to play. Got to stay healthy. I couldn't believe 4 plays into the game they had 104 yards. They were averaging 26 yards a play through the first 4 plays. And, it just, I asked Chip Kelly afterwards, I said, was that a masterpiece? 500 yards against the number one team in America. And
with taking your
the
foot off
only
the gas,
undefeated-
no less.
Yeah, the only undefeated team in America. I mean, that was, I think it was a struggle. And we're not going to have good internet here, but I don't know, is there anything you want to hit me on, quicker? That way, if I do bug out, then it's good. But great interviews afterward coming up with Sawyer, Howard, all these guys, so many heroes on this team. You could have given the defensive player award to 4 players, but I do think Sawyer deserved it. All the pass deflections and the sacks. I just think he was the best on defense, although Simon was awesome too. So, and Tui Maloau, was good as well. So, I don't know. There was a lot of love to go around tonight. A lot of love in the ballpark tonight. Hey, I got a funny one for you. You remember an incident outside the Manor House at the Fiesta Bowl where Heath asked his friend if he could have his shirt? The guy who perpetuated that is sitting directly behind me. So it's an inside joke. Nobody else will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Guy who tried to leave the stadium with a sign, but So
Yes.
Yeah. And then Heath equated it back to his buddy. Well, if this guy gets a sign, can the guy's wearing a Fiesta Bowl pullover? He goes, "Can I have a shirt?"
Fair trade, Steve.
Thankfully, you and he are good buds, so he knew you were screwing with him. But yeah, it was. Those were good times. These are good times. And next week in Dallas, Ohio State's going in there as the heel. They're going to be the, it's going to be 70-30 Texas at the AT&T Stadium. And, we'll see how the offense does in a hostile environment. Are they going to continue to hit these big plays? I wasn't impressed watching Texas play today. So, they got off to a good start, but then just kind of it's a 60-minute game, and Ohio State's the best 60-minute team in America.
Great stuff, Steve. Appreciate it, man.
Yep. All right, guys.
You take it easy on LA, Steve. All right, Heater, I'm going to wrap the show pretty soon. Your parting thoughts, my friend.
Yeah, just a couple of things. A lot of people have been talking about the defensive line, Sawyer, JTT, etc. And I think somebody's gotten into their ear and just said, hey, play like JTT as though it's the fourth quarter of any Penn State game, and you'll be fine, because that seems to be what they're doing. I was looking at the stats again. You and I are stat heads. Take away those sacks that they had, and they still held Oregon to 20 yards rushing on 16 carries. They were because everybody, I think most people know, they put sack yards into the rushing yards in college and the reverse for that in NFL. But so it was actually minus 23 yards in total for Oregon's rushing tonight. But take away the sacks, put those to the side. Actual rushing plays, they still only had 20 yards on 16 carries for the night. That's absolutely dominant performance by this defense. If this defense comes out with their hair on fire again, the offense stays aggressive and gets the ball to playmakers in space, this team is unbeatable if they do all that. And it's kind of a joy to watch it all unfold, because this is a roster that is packed with talent, and it's awesome to see that talent actually living up to the hype.
Yeah, and in this modern age of college football, it's a lot like the NFL, man. You just have to make the playoff and then be hot at the right time. And the Buckeyes, this is what we were waiting for all year, and they're playing even better than I could imagine. This is a loaded roster. They're hungry. The players and the coaches are hungry, because these players really have never won anything big in their Ohio State careers. So, I love it, man. Hey, I appreciate you sticking with me for the entire show. Awesome
Always
stuff.
With you, my man.
Thank you, my man in Amsterdam. I'm loving 2025 so far.
All right, brother. I will talk to you hopefully next week.
Sounds good. Yeah, let's talk after the next win. Does that sound good to you?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Sounds good. He is Heath Schneider. Make sure you get on Bucknuts. Thank you, my friend. Read his immediately after the game analysis, must-read material. All right, well, thanks to all of you for tuning into the show. Thanks to everybody who joined me, all my guests. Thanks to Heater. Thanks to J-Book. Thanks to Bax. Thanks to Pat Murphy. Thanks to Steve Helwagen. And again, thanks to all of you. Love hanging out with you guys, especially after a Buckeye victory, especially after a dominant Buckeye victory in the Rose Bowl, in the college football playoff quarterfinals. And now off to the semifinals in Arlington against Texas, 2 wins away from the national championship. Thanks again, everyone. I appreciate it. Hope everyone has a great evening. Happy New Year. Go Bucks.